guys, it's Katrina from Blue Ridge Diva Designs, and I'm here today to do a tutorial, the tutorial for the right angle weave bracelet. This is the project that we'll be working on today in today's tutorial. Just wanted to show you a quick example of the versatility of the right angle weave technique. All these items here that you see have a right angle weave used in them. While it's the basis for some entire projects such as this example and this example, it is also used in part in other projects such as this bracelet here, where the focal piece is right angle weave and part of the units on the actual sides of the bracelet are right angle weave, but there's also herringbone stitch and then just some circular type stitching as well. In these bracelet and choker, right angle weave is also used in this example as part of the length accents for this necklace. These super duo units here are all made with right angle weave. These small little lengths of linkage here are right angle weave. And then of course, you know, for some projects you use just doing right angle weave with embellishment, different embellishment techniques and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clear this up, and I'll set up my bead mat so we can get into this project here. It's a Celtic cross style bracelet that I made recently. So if you want to go ahead and get your materials ready, and I'll be back just in a minute and we'll get started on our project. Alright guys, so I'm back and I've set up my bead mat in the following way. I do have these melon beads out. I just wanted to show you really quickly what these beads look like. These are the ones I used in the actual project I've already almost completed here. They're just a little melon bead. Let me see if I can zoom in and get you a little bit better look. They're kind of in an antique silver color, not a bright silver. The little melon lines are darkened. I think they have a really beautiful little finish on those. You can actually see the bead there. Those are what I used in this bracelet. What I'm going to use for this tutorial, however, are these bright silver, beautiful little 4mm rounds. They're made of steel. I have my 11 black seed beads, and I have some opaque turquoise luster 11 seed beads that I'll be using in this project as well. Before I get started, I want to talk about the closure that I made for this project here. All that I did was I took one of these little snap together shank buttons that you can get at any fabric store. They come in two pieces, the dome rounded top, and then the back part is the flatter disc with the, you slip the flat piece over the shank, and you take a pair of pliers and just snap it down in there like that. And then I just used a circular peyote stitch around the outside edge of this button. Now I could simply, I'm going to zoom back out just a little here. I can make a loop of beads here at the base of this first right angle weave unit, loop it around that button, and the bracelet would look something, you know, probably would hang loose a little bit more loosely like that, because the size of the loop I would need to get around this button would be fairly big. So once it sits here where the button is attached to the bracelet, that would have a lot of slack in it like that. So what I've been doing is trying to play around with some ideas of how I can attach this, make a closure like so, so that the bracelet snugs up nice and tight. I think it has a much more beautiful look that way. And so what I've come up with are three options. I'm probably going to go with just a plain snap, a sewing snap, or I'm going to use the hook and eye closure. Now, I got a whole bunch of these at Walmart yesterday. They came in this little 3-stacked plastic stack unit. They came with a mixture of colors, silver and black, of the hook and eyes the snaps in a few different sizes as well as both colors. And then these little slide clasp attachments that you anchor this piece down by sewing it onto your project. And then you would anchor this piece down, sewing this side to your project, so that you would actually, when you go to use your closure, it just slides into that bar like that. This piece is really cool. I can't wait to use it on maybe a peyote bracelet or something to that effect. However, it's too wide for this project, so that one's out. Put that away. Grab my gauge and we'll see what size this snap is, as well as the hook and eye. Okay, so I've got my handy little sewing gauge out. I love this thing, looks really great. So when I put this up, the bottom portion onto my little measuring tool here, it measures right exactly to about 6 millimeters, roughly 6 or 7. Sorry, hold on just one second. I'll get us a better look. Actually, closer to 8 millimeter. And probably this side of the snap is going to be a good 8. So you'll need at least that much room if you want to try to do this project like I'm doing it. This side measures at 9. This side measures at 8. Of course, one's a little bit bigger. And then the hook and eye. The hook portion is 10 millimeters. And the eye portion comes in at about 9. So you would need that much room on your bracelet here, and also on this part of your focal button, in order for it to be able to pull over and position it like I want it to position. So I'm thinking for what I'm trying to accomplish here, the snap is going to be the ideal choice. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that out. And basically just a couple of grams, 2 or 3 grams, I guess, of seed beads here, and they're size 11 will be enough to make the bracelet itself. And then you'll need just a very few extra for the covering of your shank button, and you'll need approximately a gram, maybe 2 of your delicate beads in the color of your choice. I'm just going to get these beads here out of my way. What I did was I went ahead and threaded on my beading needle some 6-pound fire line. In my example piece, I actually used some Eslon thread, size AA, and beeswax. Because once again, I'm putting down that threading material to see what I like about it and what I don't like about it, what projects I can use it for and which ones I can't. Alright, so to begin the project, I'm not going to use a stopper bead for this project because I'm going to be building my right angle weave units. And if you remember from the tutorials, step-by-step, and the video tutorial, the stitch review tutorial, the right angle weave is building units of 4 for basic right angle weave. And for this case, what I've done is I'm using the 4mm silvers and 2 of my black seed beads per part of my 4-part unit. So that's 1 part. I'll need to pick up 4 of those. So I'm going to pick up in order just 4mm, 2 seed beads, 4mm, 2 black Leavener seed beads, etc. Till I have, the total of 4 on my needle. Still seed beads are a little bit hard to pick up. It's really, these are silver plated and I found them in general a while back. So what I'm going to do is just bring those down to the base of my work. And I don't really need a tail thread for an attachment because, like I said, I'm planning on using this snap. Or if I wanted to create a loop later on, I can just go back, tie in and come through this loop. So I'm going to leave a pretty short tail, just enough to give myself some tension while I work on this project. All I'm going to do is pass my needle back up through all my beads, and pull it. I'm going to come back out exactly where my tail thread is because I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot on this project. So So pass your needle through all the beads of your first unit. So you come out exactly where your tail thread is coming out. So take these two seed beads and tie my knot. And all I'm going to do for that is tie a couple of overhand knots. And just make sure that my thread sinks up in between the seed beads and the seed bead and the 4mm bead that is where my thread is positioned. So nice and snug, tie 2 knots. Alright. So now my tail thread is coming down here out of this silver bead. I want my working thread to be positioned opposite of that. So I'm just going to take my needle and I'm going to go through the metal bead and work my way through the seed bead. Actually, I'm sorry. I need to go through. No, I'm not. My metal bead. The next 2 seed beads. Metal bead there as well. Now I'm going to go through the seed beads first. I want to be coming out the 4mm bead here opposite of my tail thread. So you guys go ahead and work your thread around. We'll be in position to add our next unit. So for this project, what I had done on the original project was I went ahead and built my bracelet of right angle weave units. Then I came back through and embellished after. So that's what I'm going to do for this project as well. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, so hopefully you can see a little bit more clearly what I'm doing. Sorry guys, thanks for your patience on that. Alright, so here's my unit. As you can see, my tail thread is here, and my working thread is now coming out of my silver metal bead opposite of my tail thread. The only bead I'm going to be sharing for my units is the metal bead. So I will have to pick up 4 sets of black seed beads and 3 additional metal beads to create the next shared unit. So I'll start with seed beads, 2 seed beads, and we'll end with 2 seed beads. So we'll pick up 2 11-0 seed beads, 3 metal beads, 2 more 11-0s, metal, 4mm. I guess I should say 4mm because I have no idea if you guys are using metal beads or not. 1 more 4mm, and then 1 last set of 2 seed beads. And I'll put a thorough link up here for the right angle weave step by step in case you guys need to refer back, and also to the stitch tutorial video. Alright, so my working thread is coming out to the right side of my 4mm. I want to take my needle and pass it through from left to right through just that 1 bead that's going to be shared by this next unit that I'm adding now. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull. And there I've created my second unit. Now I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this unit by passing the needle up through all of my beads. So I'm coming out to the left of that shared bead. This just gives you work and some, a little bit better shape in my opinion, and more strength and durability. It helps your units to pull in and actually look better. I'm sorry guys, I should make that. On the button. Set that guy up there for now. That way we won't have that to happen to us again. Now go through these 2 seed beads and then back through my shared bead. Just like that. I'm going to pull pretty snug right here. Make sure my unit is nice and shaped and even. Then I'll need to work up to this end bead here, opposite bead, so I'm in position to add my next unit. Once again, When you're determining the length of your bracelet, you will need to measure your wrist and build your units accordingly. I know that for the sample, the project piece here, I needed 52 of my round beads. I have several out here, but I'm just, in case I need a few extra or a few less, I'm not going to worry about that until I actually go to size my bracelet. Let me show you one more time, and then I'll pause, and I'll be back when I get my base of right angle weave units the length that I need them to be. So I'll need to pick up 4 sets of seed beads. So there's 2 11 seed beads, one 4mm. Sorry about that. The Internal Revenue Service is calling my phone. Sorry about that, guys. That's crazy. Gotta love the telemarketing world of just trying to scare people to death. Alright, so once again for my unit, you can see I've already made a mistake, so I'm going to have to back off. I actually put 3 seed beads here. I only need 2. So it's a little skinny one. I must have accidentally picked it up with the other seed bead next to it. It's okay. It's always good to check as you work. That's my main thing I try to do, is check everything before I make a stitch. And I always like to double check when I'm going back through my beads, make sure that I'm in the beads and not skipping a bead, because I really don't like thread shop. Alright, so now I have on my thread my 4 sets of 2 seed beads and my 3 additional 4mm. I'm coming out to the left hand side of my next shared bead now, so what I'll do is I'll pass my needle from right to left and pull my work. And now I have my next unit. I'm going to go ahead and reinforce the entire unit. Make sure to come all the way back down. Do my seed beads, 4mm, and I like to do my reinforcement in the amount of beads per part of the unit. So with this particular unit, each part is made up of 2 seed beads and a metal bead. So I go through 2 seed beads and a metal bead and pull on my reinforcement each step of the way around during that reinforcement. 2 seed beads and back through my shared metal bead, back where I started when I added my unit. Just pull. And as you can see, my needle has accidentally gotten pulled through here, so I'm just going to bring it out back through the loop. Now, just so you guys know, I do flip my work back and forth a lot because I'm left-handed, and I like to work from the side of my dominant hand. So here I am, I'm coming out the side of my shared bead between the unit I previously made and the unit I just added, but I have to get in position with this top bead in order to add my next unit. So I'm going to go through 2 seed beads and a 4mm. Then I'm going to go through 2 seed beads and a 4mm. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my work. And then I will pick up again the same sequence. 2 seed beads, a 4mm, 2 seed beads, a 4mm, 2 seed beads, a 4mm, and 2 more seed beads. And just keep going and reinforcing until you get to the desired length for your bracelet. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'll be back when I get mine to the length that I need. Okay guys, sorry, I wanted to just jump back in for a minute and point out just a couple of things about the right angle weave. When you're reinforcing your units, and it's time to come back through this shared bead between the previous unit and the unit you're currently adding, make sure that your needle doesn't pass through any of these seed beads down below. It's okay if it accidentally passes through one on your new unit, but this previous unit, if it passes through there and you actually pull and continue on working, then it's going to have a out of shape place, thread showing, and a couple of other things that you don't want to happen. So take your time when you're reinforcing and make sure that you're following your thread path round through each bead. Double check. sticking your needle through your beads and then just flipping it over like that to look to make sure if it's running through the beads or if you've actually skipped a bead. Just those little tidbits like that will save you a lot of aggravation later on. All you have to do is put your beads through, flip it real quick, and double check to make sure you don't see any needle between those beads, and you're okay. Alright, sorry about that, so I will go ahead and pause this, and I'll be back just really soon. Okay, so I'm back. And right now I have completed 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 units on this part of my bracelet. And when I put it around my wrist, it comes to meet each other right here. So I'm going to stop right there for the time being. And I'll explain to you what I'm doing. Now on this bracelet, fully embellished, even though I use the same size beads, these are the exact same black seed beads I used at the base of this bracelet. And the 4mm beads are the same size as well. I'm coming out a little bit differently here. So basically what I think is happening is that I'm going to have to account for some shrinkage when I embellish, obviously. I don't think that's happening. I know that's happening. But at this point, it's really not anything that we really need to worry about, because as we embellish, we'll be working from this end where our working thread is, all the way back down to this end of the bracelet where the tail thread is. And if we need to add a unit or so down here at this end, it's a very, very simple thing to do, so it's no reason to panic or stress out about it. But another reason that I stopped right here is because I want to talk about, your plans for adding a clasp attachment or whatever you decide to do to flex your bracelet. If you're going to do what I do and everything, what I did for this bracelet, that's no big deal, because we really don't have to do anything except embellish back. We'll be making this focal button piece here in a separate video and attaching it to our work through this seed bead where my working thread is coming out right now. Actually, it's 4mm, I'm sorry, this 4mm bead here. And then we'll be sewing the snap onto the last unit down by our tail thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you really quick about the embellishment and adding thread and tying off thread if you need to. So I've purposely cut myself a shorter piece of threading material for this project so that as I work my way back, I'm most likely going to have to add thread. But if I were to happen to not to have to, I'll show you how to end off a thread anyhow at the end of the project. So to start my embellishments are running from this 4mm bead on this end to the shared bead in the middle. And all I did was create a simple little cross pattern using my other color of my size 11 seed beads, which for this project I'm using these opaque luster turquoise colored seed beads. They're really beautiful. They look pearlescent. So to complete the first part of your embellishment for your first unit, you're going to pick up 5 of your 11 seed beads. You can bring them down or whatever you want to do. Doesn't really matter. Now, my working thread is coming out on the right side of my 4mm bead here at the top of my work. What I want to do is take my needle and run it from left to right on the opposite side of that bead, and make sure that you don't get into your black 11 seed beads when you're working these steps here. Just pass your needle through and pull. And what we've done here is created a diagonal shape through this unit. And I'm just going to hold it with my fingers so I can keep it nice and snug to show you what to do for the second portion. But these beads will fit right down in here just fine. You might have to mash with your finger just a little bit. But my completed project has these little metallic beads kind of raised up just a little bit on the work, and I like the way that that works out. So that's how many I'm going to use for this project as well. They're very similar in shape and size. So, having said that, to do the next portion, to cross back this way on the project, what I'm going to do is I'm only going to pick up 2 of these seed beads. Lay this down so I can hopefully show you guys a little bit better. I'm going to zoom her in. I'm zoomed in as far as I could go, sorry. Anyway, so now I'm coming out on the right hand side of my shared bead between these two units. And I need to get these two beads under this bead here and up my needle to be coming out on that side of this middle bead. So of the 5 seed beads, I picked the 3rd seed bead. I'm passing from right to left in an upward motion with my needle, and I'm going to pull those 2 seed beads into position. Now, I need to complete that X, so I'll pick up 2 more of my 11 seed beads in my accent color, and I'm going to take my needle and I'm go from left to right on this top bead here where I initially started my accent from. I'm just going to pass my needle through the bead, and then I'm just going to pull. Give me just a second, guys. A little bit tight work here. Okay. Make sure that you don't get into any seed beads on either side with your needle. And then you're just going to pull your beads and manipulate them into the space. Now, I can see right now that I'm having a little bit of a problem here with that amount of seed beads on this project, and I guess it's because of the shape of these round beads are different from these elongated known beads. So I'm not going to panic. All I'm going to do to fix my problem, I'm going to take my needle off the thread, and then I'm just simply going to back my beads out and not use my fingernail, just use my fingers like that. If you use your fingernails, you can damage even the Fireline, Wildfire, Power Pro, and of course any other type of beading thread is easily damaged in that manner. So just get your string of material started in the right direction, and use the tips of your fingers to pull the thread and to pull your beads off. Now to fix my problem, I just need to come out of this 4mm here at the shared bead on my 2 units. So I'm just going to pull like that. Now I'm going to have to make an adjustment to my amount of beads, so I need an odd number of beads to make this work the way that I want it to. So I want to take off 2 of these beads, and I'm going to check and see how that works for me. So I'm going to go through once again. I'm coming out to the right of my top bead. I need to go into the left of my bottom bead. Oops, I have to put my needle back on the thread. Give me just a moment. I'm pretty sure I'll edit that out, but maybe I'll just leave it in so you guys can see that everybody in this beading world makes similar mistakes and bloopers and goof-ups. So, okay. So now I have my needles back on my thread, which always helps. I'm going to pass from left to right, and I'm going to put my beads around here so they come over the top of this work, just like that. And then I'm going to pull. Not sure if I'm going to like this finished outcome, but we'll see what happens. I'll pick up 1 of my accent seed beads at this point and pass from right to left up through just the middle seed bead of my accent beads. Trying not to get my string hung everywhere in creation here. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull it. Then I will just pick up 1 seed bead, size 11 of my accent color again, and pass from left to right on my 4mm bead here at the end of my work. And I'm going to see what this looks like. Nice and snug. So, as you can see, it still makes a beautiful accent. However, it has not filled up the space in the center of my right angle weave unit like these beads happen to do. So I have a couple of options here. I can try to find some maybe a little bit smaller beads here with which to fill in my centers. I could possibly switch these seed beads out for a size 8 seed bead and put it in the center. And I'm thinking that that might be something I might try to do. So I've got a lot of 8 seed beads. Let me just dig around and see what I can find real quick. Before I move forward, I'm going to check it out and see what I like the best. You guys can pause me for this part if you want to, or you can stick around and see what I come up with. Okay, so these beautiful pink metallic beads here. I think I'll try some of those. So what I would need to do in order to use these 806 beads is definitely I would only be able to use 3 accent beads on my initial pass. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if that will fill up the space similar to this bracelet. So if you guys feel like pausing, go right ahead. I'll probably put this on fast forward on the video so you guys get the fast forward version without any yakking. Alright, so let me try some of these 806 beads here. Aren't those great? They'll be beautiful, you know, just as well. So, thread my needle. This time I thread my needle before I try to sew with it. Take a quick peek and see what this looks like. Alright, so what I would do is the exact same thing. I know they're bigger beads, so I'm definitely going to be able to use 3. So I'm going to pick up 3 of these 80 metallic pink silver OC beads. Now, I'm coming out to the right, so once again I want to go from left to right. And this seed bead between my 2 units. And I'm going to pull. Then, I will pick up the 1 80 silver seed bead. I'm still going to pass up from right to left through the middle unit, just like that. Give a pull. And I think this may be what I'm going to do because I'm liking the way it already looks, and it's doing what I want it to do, which is fill in all the blank space in the unit. Pick up 1 more seed bead, go from left to right, do my initial bead, 1mm bead where my working thread was positioned when I started the embellishment. And pull. And now, as you can see, I'm getting the same look that I achieved in this bracelet, and that's the look I want. So I'm going to stick with these 80 seed beads for the rest of my project. And I apologize up front that things didn't pan out for me exactly like I thought, but that, just so you know, is how it goes when you're designing jewelry. You have to make adjustments and be flexible and try not to let things stress you out too much. Right, so I need to work down into position to embellish my next unit. So I was coming out to the right of my top 4mm. All I'm going to do is pass down these 2 seed beads, my 4mm, these 2 seed beads, and then this 4mm. And I'll be in position to add my embellishment to the next unit in line. So there's my seed beads, and there's my 4mm. And it's just a repetition. We're going to do the exact same thing, only this time my working thread is coming out to the left of the top bead of this unit. So I'll pick up my 3 80 metallic seed beads, and I will pass from right to left in the opposite bead so that I create a diagonal line. And pull my string. Try not to get stuck around all these other things here. I think I'm going to actually push my needle through, and I did. Just come back through the loop like that. There we go. Alright, so in order to get back up to the top of this work, I'll need to pick up 1 of my seed beads, 80 seed beads. This time I'll pass from left to right through the middle bead of the diagonal I just added, and pull. Use your thumb and fingers or whatever to get your beads into the position you want. Pick up your last 80 seed bead for the embellishment of this unit, and this time you're going to pass, I forgot my work term, but you'll be passing from right to left through just the 4mm bead back here at the top of your work. And you're just going to pull, and as you notice, it snaps right into position. I'm getting that little raised look of these little Celtic cross metallic beads that I'm trying to achieve. And I really dig the way that that's coming out. I don't know if you guys can see it very well, but if you see the little bit of a slightly raised appearance of the seed beads on the top, that's the look I was after. So now I'm going to move down. I'm coming out to the left. I'm going down these 2 seed beads on the left, a 4mm round on my side. The next 2 seed beads and the 4mm here at the base of my embellished unit and the top of the unit that I'm getting ready to embellish. And once again, I'm coming out on the right hand side. So just a couple more. I'm going to pick up my 3 8/0 seed beads. I'm coming out to the right, so I'm going to pass through the bead opposite in this unit from left to right. And I'm just going to pull beads into position here. And my thread is now exiting to the right of the bottom bead, so I will pick up 1 seed bead and find one I like. I'm going to go from right to left through that middle seed bead, pull over my thumb, pick up the last seed bead for this embellishment, pass back through this top bead of the unit I'm working on from left to right, pull everything nice and snug, and work my way back down into position for my next embellishment. 2 seed beads and a 4mm on the right. My working thread is coming out there. 2 seed beads and a 4mm. Ensure that you get through your seed beads here, but you don't want to get into any of those in the next unit below. And pull, nice and snug. Alright. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to embellish down to the end of my bracelet here, and then I'll be back to discuss. I will remeasure, of course, to see what the difference is in length once I've got these embellishments in, and see if I need to add additional units, or if we could talk about getting a clasp on it. Alright guys, I'll be back as soon as I finish the embellishments. I'm back. And I have embellished all the way back down to this end of my bracelet. And as you can see, I worked my thread down dangerously close here. So what I did was I was able to embellish this last unit. I had come through my shared bead here from right to left. I worked down my seed beads, the 4mm, and stopped right there, so I have enough to work with. Then I took my needle and I put it on my tail thread, which is down here next to this 4mm. So I'm going to pass my needle just through those 2 seed beads, so my 2 threads are sitting beside each other. And I'm going to go ahead and just tie this off in a couple of overhand knots. Normally I wouldn't do that, but being as I'm just this close to finishing the project, I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Make sure your thread cinches in between the beads where your 2 threads meet, so that you don't have a piece of thread showing on the outside of your seed beads over here. So I'm just going to pull really slow, and when I see it's going in the right place, I'm just going to pull it like that. Now I'm going to pick my tail thread back up, because that's the one my needle is on. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go up through this 4mm bead. And I'm going to give a pretty good tug here to make sure that knot situates itself inside of that 4mm bead. And I'm going to work my thread around a few more beads. Just like that. And at this point I'm going to use my thread burner, because that will actually knot that knot a little bit together and everything should be fine. Alright. If you don't have the thread zapper, I highly recommend you get one, because I really love this tool. Just get your threads off just that quick. And another little trick you can use is to take a lighter and just give a little additional melt right there, just for added security. Alright, so this is what the finished bracelet looks like so far. The embellished bracelet, I should say. It's not finished. I don't have a clasp. I'm going to zoom out just a little and show you guys how it measures up is so far in relationship to this other bracelet. I couldn't believe, first of all, what a difference just changing my round bead made. in this bracelet. And as you can see here, I have had a little bit of shrinkage by embellishing my units with the 8OC beads. So I'm actually, before I add a clasp, I will be adding one more unit. So for that, I know I'm going to need 3 more rounds and 8 more of my black 11OC beads. And I'll be needing the 5 of my 8OC beads to embellish it. I'm going to take a look at how it fits on my arm. And as you can see, it's not fitting as with the overlap as well as this bracelet. So I know that I need an additional unit if I decided to clasp it in the same way, which is to build a decorative focal button here, and to use a snap to snap it sew on and snap closed. You put sew one end on one of your end units here, and then you would sew the other part of your snap on the underside of this focal. And I'll go into that when I do the tutorial for this button here, which I'll. Alright, so I made a couple more passes through my 4mm beads and my snap. I double checked to make sure that I don't have so much thread through my holes on either side of my snap that my snap snaps together nicely, easily, and when you go to unsnap it, that there's no tugging or pulling on the threads where you attached your snap. So everything's looking good there. Alright, so I completed that, and I've come back through this 4mm here. Now, as you can see, my working thread is coming off this side, and my tail thread's over here. So all I'm going to do at this point is work around this second unit down through 2 seed beads, this 4mm, next 2 seed beads, this shared 4mm here in the center. And I'm going to come back up the 2 seed beads and the 4mm on the other side where my tail thread is. Then I just need to go through these 2 seed beads, and I can tie another knot with my tail thread and my working thread. So I'm all back together here. Both my threads are where they need to be. Make a little loop, push my needle through. Pull. Make a little loop. Wrapping the strip threads across each other, making a little crossover loop. Sticking my needle through and pulling. Alright, so there's my other 2 overhand knots there. So I want to move away from the knot. So I'm just going to come back through my 4mm there. Pull my knot into the center of that bead. I can feel it pulling there, so I know it's hidden away and it's secure inside of that bead. I'm going to work down 2 seed beads, 4mm, 2 seed beads, and cross over into 4mm here on the center of those units. I'm going to go down 2 more seed beads, a 4mm, 2 more seed beads, and through this 4mm shared between these next 2 units in line. Coming out just the 4mm and not my seed bead. So you can snip your tail thread now and snip your working thread now, and everything should be just fine. I really dig this bracelet. I like the way that it came out. And there it is. The finished bracelet. Put it on my arm. And then I'm just going to snap it on. And there it is. And I really like the way this button came out. So identical to the units of my bracelet project. Right angle weave with a slight addition of a peyote covered button, and I have a beautiful bracelet. I was just wondering how these might look stacked. So let's check that out. And I hope you guys like this video and the peyote tutorial as well. If you do, please click like. If you have any questions or concerns, leave me some, you can message me through these comments, and you can also message me on Facebook for my Blue Ridge Diva Designs page or my group page. I see a thread I didn't cut last night when I put the snap on, so I better cut that. But there's a stacked look. That looks pretty good. Alright guys, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I should be having several more videos coming out this week, and I really hope you guys are going to stick with me through this adventure, and I'm very excited. So yeah, thanks. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.